Welcome back, all my fight fans. Last Saturday night, I believe we witnessed possibly the greatest performance in UFC history. Now, I'm not talking about the most dominant, I'm not talking about the most one-sided or the most flashy, but that might have been the greatest performance I've ever seen inside the octagon. What Jan had to overcome in the challenge that was Merab, looking at the first fight, how impossible the odds were going into this fight. I am just blown away. That performance nearly brought me to tears. It was incredibly inspiring. It's motivated me so much, and it's pretty special to watch one of your favorite fighters who you counted out, who you didn't think had a single shot at winning the belt again, go in there and put on a masterclass performance. Perfection, absolute perfection. I think what Jan did in there should be studied by everybody who does MMA, because that was quite the performance. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about that fight towards the end of the video. As always, I want to go through absolutely every single fight that happened last Saturday, because boy, was it a great night of fights. One of the best fight cards of the year. I think in the early prelims, 4 out of 5 of the fights ended in less than 2.5 minutes. So the first 4 fights of the night all ended in less than 2.5 minutes. It was very, very exciting. There's lots to cover today. But if you guys want to skip around to just where I talk about the main and co-main event, there will be timestamps down below in the description. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. And with that all out of the way, let's get into the breakdown. So kicking us off with the first fight of the night, we had Muhammad Naimov taking on Marion Santos. And going into this one, I believe I predicted a second round KO for Marion Santos. This kid is very special. He's an elite striker. He's very flashy, very creative, and he's got a lot of pop in his punches. I thought he was going to get this guy out of there a little bit quicker, but Naimov is a very, very tough opponent, and he made it a good fight up until that last round there. And then Santos kind of put it on him, got the TKO in round 3. It was an excellent performance by him. I really like this kid's style, and I hope in his next fight he gets another big opponent. Maybe not a top 15 guy just yet, but I hope at some point in 2026 we see Marion Santos fight in the top 15 at 145. So moving on from that, we had a middleweight bout between Mansour Abdul Malik and Antoni Tricoli. And going into this one, I said, man, Malik's got this one locked. He's getting the first round knockout. He's so composed. He's got so much power. This guy looks like a future champion. I'm taking him by first round KO. And he goes in there, and in 1 minute and 10 seconds, gets a submission. Goes in there, grabs a nasty guillotine, almost lifts his opponent off the ground with it, and got a choke in the first minute or so. So this guy's incredibly impressive. I didn't think he had that in his repertoire, certainly not in the first minute. And this Malik kid is a serious, serious problem. If he's going in there and submitting guys in the first minute or so, knocking people out in the first minute or so, we got to give him a big matchup after this one. I think a sizable increase in quality of opponents probably called for here, and maybe a top 15 guy for him, because he's very, very dangerous, and that was an incredibly impressive performance. Moving on, we had a light heavyweight bout, which was probably the round of the year. When I do my MMA awards for 2025, this is probably going to be my round of the year. It was certainly the most entertaining 90 seconds of fighting I've ever seen in my life between Iwo and Ibo. Iwo Baranowski, I apologize, and Ibo Aslan went out there. I called Aslan to win this one because he had a more impressive record. He's been in the UFC a little bit longer, and Iwo coming in for his first fight in the UFC, making his debut against a guy like Aslan. I thought he was going to get knocked out in the first round, and he almost did. It was very, very close. Aslan had a knockdown himself, but Iwo also got 2 knockdowns for himself, and it was back and forth. It was complete rock'em sock'em robots. It was a free CTE session for both guys. They put their chins on the line. They slung it out. Both guys, like I said, got knocked down, and it went Iwo's way. He got the knockout there, 1 minute 29, so a minute and 30 seconds basically into that fight, and it was, the most entertaining 90 seconds all year. I could rewatch that every single day and never get bored of it. That was so much fun. I think if you were to conceptualize that fight, it's almost like 2 elite MMA fighters get into a bar brawl and throw all of their technique out the window. Well, not completely, because it's still there subconsciously, but just sling it out and fight like true bar fighters. And that was a really, really fun fight. So moving on from that, we had a lightweight bout between Edson Barboza and Jalen Turner, and I think the energy carried over into this one too, because Jalen Turner went out there and just absolutely sparked Barboza in less than 2.5 minutes. He just put it on him, got on him him right away and melted Barboza inside of the octagon there. So it's a little bit bittersweet because I am a huge fan of Edson Barboza. I've been watching him for years now, and he's one of my favorite strikers of all time. I do maintain that he's the best striker we've ever seen in the octagon, and it's just sad to see him at 39 years old kind of lose that mojo. So Jalen Turner needed to go up there, and he needed a big win. I said that in my predictions, that this guy is a guy who was considering retirement just a fight or two ago, and now he gets a big win over a legend. Barboza had some kind words for him there at the end, and I hope he goes on another run here. I hope we see another win streak out of Turner. He's a very entertaining fighter when he's on. He just has 9 losses on his resume already, and I think that's why he was considering quitting. But I hope he keeps going, because it showed in this fight, man. This kid's still incredibly dangerous at lightweight. He's just in the most difficult division in the entire sport. So moving on from that, we had our early prelims headliner, which was our first decision of the night, but it was still an excellent fight. Could have been up for fight of the night if that Merab and Jan fight wasn't what it was. But Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira. This one was very entertaining. It was back and forth. The strikes were 90 total strikes for Vettori, 77 for Bruno Ferreira, 88 significant strikes for Vettori, and 77 for Ferreira. So every single strike he landed was a significant strike, I guess. They both had a takedown in this fight. It ended up going Ferreira's way. I know some people might have called it for Vettori, but I said in my predictions, I think this fight's going to go the distance because they're so high level. And I think Ferreira, even though he landed less, is probably going to get the nod when it comes to the decision because he has more power in his hands and his shots are more affecting. And you saw that throughout the fight, and I think the judges did get it right, giving it to Ferreira. He did land the more consequential shots, but you might have been able to call this for Vettori depending on how you were viewing it. But it was a great fight, and that kind of concludes our early prelims, so let's move on to the regulars. Kicking off our regular prelims, we had a lightweight bout between Nazim Siddiqov and Faris Ziam, and in my prediction video, I said I'm going to take Siddiqov just because of the name. It's not the Siddiqov that I thought was coming over to the UFC. That guy still is making his way over, I think. He's training with Arman Sarukian right now. I'm blanking on his first name, but he's an Olympic gold medalist. Should have had 2. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So because this guy had a similar name to him, I took him to win, and that was stupid. Shouldn't have done that. I should have bet on my countrymen. Well, not technically my countrymen. I'm Canadian, but my heritage is French, so sometimes I side with the French fighters. I love cheering for Benoit Saint-Denis, Cyril Gane, and all those guys. So Ziam, he impressed me a lot in this one. I said I wasn't confident in betting on him, but I think going into the future, I'm going to be pretty confident on placing money on this guy because he is an absolute sniper. He showed a complete game in this fight. He showed great groundwork, great takedown defense. He showed transition abilities that I didn't even know he had. He just showed a complete and dynamic game in there, and he got the TKO in the second round, basically in the last second of the round there. And just an awesome performance by Ziam. I'm really excited to see what he does next. The stats for this fight were kind of crazy too. The total strikes, Nazim Siddiqov landed 7 total strikes throughout the fight, and Ziam landed 76, so almost 70 more strikes than his opponent. That's pretty wild. Just a great complete performance by him, and I can't wait to see what he does next in the lightweight division. Moving on, we had a women's flyweight bout between Macy Barber and Karine Silva. Going into this one, I was very excited for it because both of these women are fairly aggressive. They get in there, they sling it out, they make entertaining fights. They're not point fighters. They are always chasing the finish, especially Silva. She has quite a few submissions and quite a few knockouts on her resume. And she made it a tough fight. You know, she was in there mixing up, making it dirty, fighting dirty a little bit with those up kicks. I think 2 of those were definitely illegal. Probably a point should have been taken, but in the end, it was Macy Barber with her wrestling being more dominant than Silva. Now, I think I took Silva to win this fight, even though I was going to be cheering for Macy Barber regardless. I thought Silva's jiu-jitsu was actually going to outmatch Macy Barber's wrestling, but that was not the case at all. Macy Barber kind of manhandled her, especially towards the end of the fight. She had 89 total strikes to Silva's 57, 3 takedowns to Silva's 2, and I think she just did better work on the ground, and I think the judges definitely got it right in giving it to Barber. This was the best shape I've ever seen Barber in her life. In previous fights, she's maybe had a little bit of extra baby fat on her, but going into this one, man, she looked in phenomenal shape, and I think maybe one more fight, but I think she's almost ready for that title shot. I really, really want to see her fight Blanchfield. I'm so sad that that fight fell through. These are two women who are basically the same age, have very similar styles, wrestling heavy with great hands, and both B last names. I don't know. There's just something about that matchup that I really want to see it play out. Maybe it's destined for the future, but we'll see. I think Macy Barber with one more big fight should be right there in line for the next title shot, and I'm excited to watch that play out. Moving on from that, we had a lightweight bout between Terrence McKinney and Chris Duncan. Going into this one, I thought the odds were a little bit skewed. I think McKinney was a very live underdog. You know, he has like 16 first-round finishes, so I don't know why you wouldn't bet on that guy. But a little bit overzealous in this one, a little bit too much caution to the wind. He should have been a little bit calmer in there, especially when he got caught in that Darce choke towards the end. But McKinney, for a second there, was looking like he was going to knock out Chris Duncan. He was putting it on him, landing some great knees. He's got phenomenal knees. I love the way this kid throws up knees right up the middle. And freaking Chris Duncan, man, is just too damn tough. And once he grabs your neck, you're in trouble. Once he had that Darce choke cinched up, I'm like, well, I think it's over. I think I got that one wrong. So first round submission for Chris Duncan. It came 2.5 minutes into the fight, so halfway through round one. And just an excellent performance by him. Can't wait to see what he does next in the lightweight division. I think he should definitely get a top 15 guy after this. Maybe match him up with the winner of our next bout, which was also at lightweight between Grant Dawson and Manuel Torres. And because Grant Dawson was a pretty heavy favorite, looking amazing at lightweight, probably one of the most underrated fighters in the division. He was a ranked guy coming into this fight. I don't know if he'll keep his ranking after this. We'll see. But Manuel Torres went in there and again, in 2.5 minutes, dispatched Grant Dawson. He outstruck him. It didn't take many strikes. Torres landed 9 and Grant Dawson landed 8, so it didn't take too many punches to end this one. But yeah, Torres is just so lanky. He's so awkward. He hits you from all sorts of different angles. And when you watch the finish in this one, I would go back and rewatch this. Watch the way this guy cuts angles and watch the angles at which his punches come from. He's not just a straight down the middle, tight boxing kind of guy like Petr Yan. He's throwing winging shots. They're coming from weird angles. They're overhands, underhands, all sorts of different punches coming from him. And he's a very crafty fighter. He moves to 17-3. I believe he has something like 15 or now 16 first-round finishes. This is a guy to keep your eyes on, and I think he just got his way into the top 15, so maybe he'll get a top 15, top 10 guy after this, and it should be a banger fight. So I'm really impressed by Manuel Torres in that one. I did not think he was going to come out with the win in that one, but he did in very quick and dominant fashion. So that concludes our regular prelims. Let's move on now to the main card. So kicking off our main card, we had a light heavyweight bout between the 42-year-old Jan Blachowicz taking on Bogdan Guskov. And going into this one, I really wanted Guskov to win, only because it would be better for the division if he did. He's kind of up and coming, he's surging a little bit, and Jan at 42 years old, I don't know if he's going to get another crack at the belt. Even with a win over Guskov, I don't know if that's going to get him quite close enough in time. He's going to be turning 43 soon, in less than a year, and I don't know, man. I just feel like once you get into those mid-40s, your performance really starts to dip, but I was pleasantly surprised going into this one or watching this fight play out because Guskov went in there and fought his fight. He put on a great boxing performance and had really tight striking, landing 60% of his total strikes. He's a phenomenal boxer. I said it in my predictions, too, that in the 2024 Olympics, 5 out of 8 of the men's gold medalists in boxing were all from Uzbekistan. So I don't know what they're doing over there, but they have the best boxers on the planet, apparently, at least for the amateurs. And Guskov went out there and boxed up Jan Blachowicz, at least for the first round and partly through the second. And then Jan, he came back, man, and he put hell on Guskov. He made this a very tough fight, and he beat him up good. And I thought Jan won the fight when it got to the end of it. This one was unfortunately ruled a draw, a decision draw. I think one judge had it for Jan, and then 2 judges had it as a draw, which in that case, I think you just give it to Jan, but I understand it's a majority draw, so they make it a draw. It is what it is, but I think Jan came back in this fight and just showed absolutely a next level of heart, man. Like, this guy is so damn tough. He's seriously, I think, in the top 5 or top 10 toughest fighters in UFC history because the fights that he's been in, the brutal leg kicks that he's had to endure and put on other people. He is just he's such a fighter's fighter. He's such a man's man. I absolutely love Jan Blachowicz. I'd love to grab a beer with that guy. And he showed a crazy amount of heart in this performance. And I thought he should have gotten the nod. In the Magomed Ankalaev fight, I thought Ankalaev should have gotten the nod, but somebody should have gotten the nod in that fight, and somebody should have gotten the nod in this fight too. I don't know why draws are a thing. I feel like there should be an extra round, or they should just be made illegal or something like that. I hate when draws happen because it just stagnates the division. Now what do you do with Guskov or Jan? Who gets the better opponent in the next fight? Because it was a draw. Like, it felt like a draw at the end of it, but that should never happen. We should never have a draw as a result, because like I said, it just stagnates everything. I think both guys' stock went up. I think everybody will agree with that Jan, his stock's going up after that amazing performance at 42 years old. And Guskov, his stock has to go up because very few people have fought Jan to that close of a fight before. Most of the time, Jan's going out there and he's putting that Polish power on people and making it a pretty brutal night. But Guskov stood with him the entire time and made it a very, very close fight. So I don't know what to make of this one. You guys can let me know down below in the comments who you guys had winning. I thought Jan Blachowicz, I thought he won the fight. I thought he did enough to do it, but obviously the judges saw it differently. So moving on from that, we have a bantamweight bout between Henry Cejudo and Peyton Talbot. And going into this one, I didn't really feel a way that Henry could win. He's kind of getting towards the end of his career now. Well, his career is over now. That was his last fight. He is retiring. But at 39 years old, I don't even know why he took this fight. I think maybe he thought I could go out there and wrestle him like Bersalis or whoever the guy who beat Peyton Talbot was. Maybe I could wrestle him like that guy and get a win and maybe get on the mic and maybe push for a title fight. And maybe they'll give it to me and I'll get one last shot at 40 years old at the belt. That's what I thought maybe was the plan here. But he just got dominated by Talbot, and in a way that I didn't even think was going to happen. I thought Henry Cejudo was maybe going to get a couple takedowns, make the fight close, and then on the feet, it was going to be Talbot lighting up Cejudo. He did light up Cejudo on the feet, but he also took Cejudo down twice, which was not expected. You look at him 2 fights ago, and you go, that guy's never going to take down an Olympic gold medalist wrestler. There's no way. He's struggling against a 39-year-old Brazilian black belt. How is he going to take down Henry Cejudo? But then he goes out there and he gets, well, I guess he's credited with 3 takedowns. I just looked down and checked the sheet, and apparently he had 3 takedowns in that fight. So Peyton Talbot, an excellent performance. He had a knockdown. He scored 156 total strikes to Henry's 77, so absolutely outclassing him on the feet. 134 significant strikes to Henry's 60, and then, 3 takedowns to Henry's 1. That is incredibly impressive. This kid learns so damn quickly. He puts things together. He's so calm under pressure. He's really a special prospect, and I think if he continues on this winning streak, we're going to see him in there fighting for gold in very short order. Peyton Talbot is incredibly talented, and that was a phenomenal performance. Not many people have beaten Triple C, and not many people have beaten him that decisively. He beat Henry Cejudo more dominantly than maybe even Merab did. I think the Merab fight was at times more close. That was obviously a little bit of a younger Henry, a couple years younger, but tremendous performance by Talbot. We'll see what he gets next at bantamweight. Moving on from that, we had the flyweight bout between Brandon Moreno and Tatsuro Taira, and I took Taira to win this one all day because this kid is probably my favorite prospect in the entire sport right now. At 25 years old, he's a jiu-jitsu phenom like nothing I've ever seen in the sport. Like nobody transitions like this guy. Nobody's as sticky on your back as this guy. He's so creative with his submissions and what he's trying to look for in there. He's so much fun to watch, and he's funny on the mic. I don't know if you guys saw his post-fight interview, but it was hilarious. Not like in the cage, but when he was outside doing the interviews, like in the press conference. Hilarious kid. Like this guy, he's got so much personality, so much confidence. He's got pretty good striking too. He's got a karate background, I believe, so he's got some fluidity in his striking. And Moreno went out there in the first round, tried to throw on a triangle that wasn't really close. I think Joe Rogan thought it was a little bit closer than I did. When it comes to Taira, I don't know if I see something a little bit different, but I seriously think that this kid's almost like a Habib Islam Makhachev type where you're not going to be able to choke him out. He's going to be in the perfect position to defend it. He's going to defend it perfectly. And even if you do get close to choking him out, he's not going to tap. You're going to have to put him unconscious. I think this is a very, very difficult kid to submit. And I don't think that triangle was even remotely close. I think Tyra even said in the post-fight, like, that wasn't really close. I was just waiting for him to let go of it so I can get to work myself. So that first round was kind of a wash. In the second round, Tyra gets the takedown, beats the crap out of Moreno. Great ground and pound. Some of the best ground and pound I've seen at 125, honestly. And total strikes, 45-9. Significant strikes, 28-9. Just wasn't even close. He just went out there and wiped Moreno from the map. And this kid, I can't wait to see him fight with Joshua Van. I hope that's the next fight. The 24-year-old versus the 25-year-old, that is so exciting, man. Like, I love seeing these young kids in there. They're so creative. Joshua Van, he's so creative with his boxing. He's always throwing punches, always going forward, always looking for some sort of knockout shot. Tyra's always looking for a submission. He's looking to wrap you up, tangle you up, strangle you, turn you into a pretzel. I love both of these guys, and I hope they fight next. But next, we got to talk about the flyweight fight. That was for the title. That was very disappointing. If you guys were probably watching and saw what happened, it was kind of a scary injury there. I think we all saw the elbow kind of pop out and move around in a weird way when Pantoja kind of fell to the mat there. Just put his hand out to post and it bent in the wrong way. And I've never seen an injury that I was so squeamish about since the Chris Weidman leg break. That sucked to watch. And my heart breaks for Pantoja because he went out there and he was looking like he was winning the exchanges. There was like 3 minor exchanges. That was it. But, he landed 6 strikes to Van's 2. And that's not much to go off of because the fight ended in 26 seconds. But he was looking like he was going to put it on Van and like chase him down and try to strike with him. And I know the shot was coming. He was going to shoot soon. And I was still confident in that first round submission prediction that I had for Pantoja, but yeah, freak accident, I guess. And apparently it was his shoulder, not his elbow. It was a dislocated shoulder. That's what we're hearing from the UFC. So hopefully he gets back very soon. Hopefully he recovers quickly. I'm wishing him prayers and all of that. I really hope he gets back in there quick, and I hope there's no lasting damage. This is one of the greatest flyweight champions of all time. The second greatest, I think, for sure. And he was on his way to surpassing Demetrius Johnson. You look at his record, and I think it's already almost more impressive than DJ's record. I was sure he doesn't have the title defenses, but he's faced more quality opponents, in my opinion. I don't know. It's close, and it sucks to see a title reign end like that. I hope he comes back and maybe gets his belt back, because my heart breaks for him, man. Like, he's such a down-to-earth, like, straightforward guy, no bullshit, like, never getting in trouble, never missing weight or anything like that. Maybe he has once or twice in his career. I don't know. But Pantoja is just such a professional, and he's such a nice guy. Like, I hate to see this happen to someone like that. So shout out to Joshua Van, though, winning the title at 24 years old. I'm 25, so that makes me feel like I've done nothing in my life. But he's the second youngest champion in UFC history behind John Jones. So that's something to hang your hat on. I'm sure he's incredibly excited about that. And in a division where you can be more active, at 125, you can be much more active than at 205. Less injuries, the opponents hitting you are less powerful and stuff like that. And Joshua Van's a very active guy. So we might see somebody go on the run to beat John Jones's title record. Maybe. I want to see it happen. John Jones is my favorite fighter of all time. Like, part of me wants to see him keep that record forever, but there's another part of me that's just a raw MMA fan, and I want to see all of the records broken. I want to see Joshua Van go out there and defend his title 18 times in a row. I don't think that's possible, especially in today's UFC. Everything's just too stacked. There's too many good fighters. You got Tyra, who's up next, and I think, honestly, he might beat Joshua Van, so we'll see. But I just love seeing these young guys go in there and find success. It's so exciting. It just makes me feel like the sport's in good hands. It's in a good place, and it sucks that fight ended how it did. But shout out to Joshua Van. Thoughts and prayers out to Pantoja. Hopefully he recovers soon. And moving on, we have what I think is... I've been watching UFC pretty intensely for about 15 years now, and I don't think I've ever seen a greater performance than what Petr Yan put on Merab Dvalishvili for the bantamweight title last Saturday. That was Like I said, it almost moved me to tears. It was very, very inspiring to watch Jan go out there and face an absolute mountain. A guy who tried to take him down 49 times in their previous fight and took him down many times. I forget what the number was, but it was like, I think it was 10 or 11 that he actually landed, but he shot 49 takedowns, which is the most anybody shot in a fight. He dominated him on the feet too. He had the better striking throughout the first fight. And I didn't see any way that Jan could win in the second fight because Merab just seemed to get better and better. He was defending his belt for the fourth time this year, which nobody had ever done. And if he won the other night, it would have been history. I didn't see a way he could win. And Jan was one of those fighters that I've been such a big fan of for so long. I thought the illegal knee on Aljo, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. That made me so angry because Jan was clearly the better fighter in that fight. He was clearly winning the fight. And then Aljo goes down to a knee. There's the miscommunication in the apex. He throws the knee, and then Aljo, like, obviously fakes the injury. Like, I don't know anybody who's ever watched that fight and has honestly thought, yeah, Aljo was really hurt and there's no way he could have continued. He was obviously faking that injury. It put a sour taste in my mouth, and it made me hate Aljamain Sterling for years. I've since come around on him a little bit because he is still a very entertaining fighter. But that put a very sour taste in my mouth because I thought every fight after that should have been a title defense for Petr Yan. That should have been his first title defense, and then he should have had 3 after that. He should have had 4 title defenses on his first title run. And the UFC screwed him over because he won the Aljamain Sterling rematch. Every time I rewatch that fight, I think Jan won it. And then the Sean O'Malley fight was even more of a robbery. Even Sean O'Malley at the end of the fight's like, really? I won? Like, he was like shocked that he won the fight because even he thought Petr Yan won that fight. So I feel like he got robbed 3 times. The illegal knee is a little bit his fault. But at the same time, the guy's sitting on the ground acting. Like, I feel like the UFC should have punished Aljamain Sterling instead of Jan for that. But then he loses legitimately to Merab. That would have happened regardless. And it was just a fight that was so one-sided. And then coming into this fight, I watched Jan build himself back up. Those 3 wins were huge. The Figueiredo fight was so electrifying and entertaining, and that looked like vintage Jan. And then the McGee fight, he looked even better in. It looked like he was completely outclassing McGee. Like, why is this guy even in here with me? And then he gets his rematch, and this was the most spectacular performance ever, man. I'm like smiling just thinking about it. But in that first round, he keeps that hand just glued to his face, knowing that that's the eye that got shut in the first fight. Keeps the hand glued to his face. It was like almost weird to watch because I've never seen a fighter with that great of like hand placement discipline in a fight. Like, his hand just did not move from being glued to his face, and he's popping this jab in the first round, and his takedown defense looks amazing. But I'm going, does Jan have the cardio to do this for 5 rounds? Because he didn't last time. Can he last 5 rounds with this takedown defense? Because it looks better than the first fight. But man, like, Merab shooting a lot here. We know Merab has the best cardio maybe in all of sports, as I've made that case before. And he keeps shooting on him, and Jan keeps defending, and he lands some decent shots in the first round. I still think Merab won it because he controlled the round, and all of the judges agree with me, and I think most of the fans do too. I think Merab definitely took the first round, but it was close. It was very, very close, and Merab couldn't get going on what he wanted to. He couldn't really get the strikes going. Jan was popping that jab, one of the most beautiful jabs in UFC history, by the way, and the takedown defense was there. He was keeping Merab off of his legs. He was keeping off of the ground. And then you see round 2. You know, Jan's starting to land the shots that he wants to. He starts going to the body, ripping the body with hooks, ripping the body with body kicks. And he has to be very careful with shooting kicks right up to that body, because if Merab catches it, he's probably going down. Like, that's a guy who you don't want to be throwing body kicks on, especially when he's shorter than you. Like, this is a guy who's an elite level wrestler who shot 49 takedowns on you in your first fight. He's shorter than you. He's not taller than you. He doesn't have the longer torso. He's shorter than you, and you're trying to land body kicks on him. You have to be so sharp and so certain that that's your window and you're going to get it in there. And Jan did that. You know, he wasn't spamming body kicks. He was like picking the precise opportunity to sneak it in there and to hurt Merab, and he made the most of every single one of them. It was the same with the body hooks, because when you throw a body hook, you have to get pretty close to your opponent. You have to get within clinch distance, right? So Merab can grab your neck if you get close enough to land a body hook, but Again, Jan chose his shots brilliantly. He chose his shots brilliantly with the jab, too. He wasn't just popping the jab the whole night and keeping it out there, like someone like Max Holloway would, or someone else. He kept that jab hand like very tight. Like he could drop it down to sprawl or to catch the takedown at any time. And every time he shot it out, it was with purpose. And that jab just busted up Merab's face throughout the fight. Like, Merab's face looked horrible at the end of the fight, and it was mainly because of the jab. It wasn't really crosses or hooks that were landing for Jan, it was the jab. And that was so beautiful to watch. So in the second round, you really see Jan try to, or start to pull away a little bit. I think Merab still outlanded him in the second round, 41 to 25, but it was Jan who got the takedown in round 2. And that was the story throughout the fight that I thought was just so spectacular to me, because throughout the whole fight, Merab shot 29 takedowns and landed 2 of them. That's it, just 2 out of 29, whereas Petr Yan shot 9 takedowns and landed 5. He landed more than double the amount of takedowns as Merab, with shooting like a third. So that was so incredibly impressive to me, and he got the takedown in the second round, showing like, hey, it's going to be the other way around tonight. If anybody's going to get the takedown, it's going to be me. And I thought that was so cool. Obviously, Merab got the reversal there because Merab is such a high-level wrestler. The significant strikes, though, favored Jan in the second round, 21 to 19. So I think he won the second round there. I think one judge maybe gave it to Merab, the second round to Merab, but I think Jan won the second round. And I think from there on out, he just snowballed. He just kept building this momentum. Obviously, his cardio was draining throughout the fight, but he kept it up. He never looked fatigued. You could tell that he was getting tired, but he never, looked it. Like, he was never, heavy on his legs or failing to get the takedown defenses. He was always sharp. He was always there. But you could tell this guy was draining throughout the fight because of the amount of effort he had to put in to keep that guy off of his legs, to stay on his feet, and to land the shots necessary to do the damage to stop him from coming forward with his own strikes. Because Merab's a great striker in his own right. He's not as high level as Jan, but Jan's one of the best strikers in UFC history. So third round, a little bit closer, 33 total strikes for Jan to Merab's 32. Takedowns, 2 for Merab, 1 for Jan. That was kind of the better round for Merab, but as soon as Jan got taken down, he was right back up to his feet, immediately. So was Merab when he got taken down, but I just found it so impressive that the wrestling was turning out to be rather even. That was shocking to me. I'm like, wow, he's actually staying in there with the wrestling. He's not getting manhandled. This is crazy. Significant strikes, 25 to 21. Again, the shot selection by Jan was insane. If you guys want a master class of shot selection, it's this fight. This is the fight that I would teach to any child learning how to fight. This is how you choose your shots. You just watch Petr Yan in this fight against Merab, and everything was so calculated. Everything was a perfect window. He only took the punches and the kicks and even the takedowns when there was a perfect window for it. And just an excellent performance in the third round, snowballing again. I think he won the third round. In the fourth round, total strikes, 43 for Merab, 40 for Jan, so pretty dead even. Jan had the 1 takedown in the round. Merab had none, so that was good for Jan. Apparently, Merab had a submission attempt. I don't really know where that was, if it wasn't very consequential if it was a submission attempt. But the significant strikes, again, 38 to 37. So despite Merab, having more total strikes in some of these rounds, it was Jan who had the more significant strikes. And you could see him hurting the body of Merab, especially in the second, third, fourth, and fifth round. He was really getting to Merab's body and making him hurt. And in the fifth round, a very similar story. Merab had 40 total strikes. Jan had 38. The takedowns were 2 for Jan, none for Merab. And that last one in the last couple seconds there, that was just the stamp on the performance. That was so perfect. That was that F you at the end. Yeah, I out-wrestled you this time. And that was so awesome to see. There was 1 submission attempt for Merab in the fifth round. Again, I don't even know where that was. But the significant strikes, again, 38 for Jan, 35 for Merab. So even though Merab's landing more punches, it was the more consequential shots that were coming from Jan. It was so high level, his shot selection. I can't gush about it enough, but I want to rewatch this fight many, many times, and you guys should as well. This is the masterclass when it comes to shot selection and also probably takedown defense. I don't know if I've ever seen a better takedown defense performance in the history of the UFC. We're talking about the greatest wrestler in the UFC if we're looking at stats, if we're going on paper, Merab has landed more takedowns in the UFC than any other fighter. He's been more dominant with his wrestling. He's taken down Olympic gold medalists, right? We can't really say that about GSP or even John Jones, right? He took down Daniel Cormier, but Daniel Cormier wasn't an Olympic gold medalist like Henry Cejudo was. This Merab has shown throughout his career that he's the best wrestler in UFC history, and he went out there and got out-wrestled by Jan, who's primarily a boxer, who defended 27 out of 29 takedowns and landed 5 of his own out of the 9 that he shot. So he legitimately out-wrestled Merab, which is crazy. I can't believe I'm saying that right now in my breakdown video. I never thought I'd be saying that. But what a performance. That was one of the highest IQ performances I've ever seen too. Like from the shot selection to the selection for his takedowns, like every single takedown he shot on, he had a legitimate chance of finishing it. Even the ones that he didn't land on Merab, he was close to finishing those takedowns. To have that kind of percentage against Merab, like over 50% of the takedowns you shoot, you land. And for Merab, it's like, less than 10%? That's crazy, man. It's just a phenomenal performance. I can't gush about it enough. So with all the things that factored into this, the first fight, how dominant it was, the 49 takedown attempts, the 11 takedowns, being outstruck by Merab, a guy who, Petr Yan probably knows in his head, I'm a better boxer than this guy. If we boxed and we weren't doing MMA, I'd tune this guy up. But he got outstruck in the first fight, losing his belt the way he did, and then the 2 fights that he got robbed from. I mean, this guy's had a career where he's just been stepped on and stepped on and stepped on. And it never felt fair to me. I felt like he was absolutely robbed in the O'Malley fight for sure. And I think he was also robbed in the Aljo fight. And I think the first Aljo fight is just a disgrace to MMA. I thought like Aljo should have been cut after that. That was so disgusting, the faking his injury. But, Jan's been stepped on year after year. And then he comes back and he wins this belt against the toughest opponent imaginable in his division, the hardest performance he could possibly have. And he goes into this fight, I think, a plus 500 underdog or something like that. Like, everybody's counting him out, even the people who like him, like myself. Like, I'm a huge fan of Jan, but in my prediction video, I'm like, I don't really see him winning this fight. And just to have that kind of performance it was so inspiring to me. I think it's the greatest performance in UFC history. Like I said, it's not the most dominant, it's not the most flashy, it's not the quickest knockout ever. I'm not saying any of those things, but because of everything that was on the line, the story, the backstory, everything that factors into it, and then just the way it played out. This guy had to climb an absolute mountain to win this fight. Like, so inspiring, man. I don't know. You guys let me know down below in the comments how you guys feel about it, because I'm sure some of you guys are Merab fans and you probably feel a little bit upset about it. But as a Petr Yan fan, and I've been a fan of this guy for many, many years, I'm just overjoyed. And I'm so excited for him to have his belt back. He's one of the most entertaining fighters in the entire sport. So I hope he defends against somebody else next. I'm sure they're going to book the Merab rematch. They probably have to, but I really want to see him go on another run, because I feel like besides the Merab fight, there's not really any losses on his resume that I feel like are legitimate. I feel like the Merab fight was the only time in Petr Yan's career that he's been actually beaten. And he's just one of the greatest fighters of all time. His relationship with his sons and the way he is on the mic, he's very funny. I just love this guy so much. So I hope he goes on another run here. He's only 32 years old. I think he's 2 years younger than Merab, so he's still got a lot of prime ahead of him. And you guys can let me know down below in the comments, who do you guys want him to match up with next? Do you guys want to see the third Merab fight? I know probably many, many people do. It's going to be an amazing fight if it happens. Probably when it happens. I think it's inevitable. It's just whether or not it's next or not. Or if you guys want him to face somebody else, let me know down below in the comments. Do you guys want to see the Pantoja rematch immediately booked? Or if he's going to take a little bit of time with that shoulder injury, which one do you want to see next? Tyra versus Yan or somebody else maybe? I don't think that there's any better option than that. I think Van versus Tyra is probably the best fight you can make in the division right now. But you guys play matchmaker down below in the comments. Let me know who you guys want to see match up with who next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I will catch you guys in my end of the year videos. I'll have my MMA awards, my top fights of the year, my most anticipated fights for 2026. Expect videos like that coming out here at the end of December, and besides that, I will catch you guys in the new year. So the next prediction video will be in 2026. We have 2 back-to-back fight cards in January. 1 week we have UFC 324, and then the week after that is UFC 325. So that's going to be very, very exciting. I'll have those predictions out for you guys in January. So enjoy the holidays, enjoy Christmas, enjoy the new year. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.